and welcome to the Filmstein podcast for another Abridged episode. Fresh from the credits, where we immediately hit record on our thoughts. Today I'm joined by my surfing friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
I'm glad everybody could join us today. Thank you very much for being here, because today we will be talking about Matt Shakman's 2025 release, The Fantastic Four: First Steps. And I'm really curious where this conversation takes us today, because there's a few interesting things happening in Fantastic Four. We open the film on Reed and Susan Storm announcing that they have a baby. Then the title made sense to me, and I was like, oh, okay, there's a baby's first happening here. I really appreciate the skipping of the origin story. We saw this in Superman too, like you mentioned. And I will say it's a great use of some kind of exposition dump, because I don't know about you, but it's never very interesting where these people get their powers. And 9 times out of 10, if at all, is never consequential to the story at large.
Yeah, but I guess that attributes to that world building that people really love out of these movies. Whether it's cool or not, it really helps fill in those gaps of how someone became maybe not who they are, but why they are the way they are.
And I guess I will say it's kind of fan servicey, because you get to see the spider bite the kid, or the Ant-Man do his quantum mechanics stuff.
But you're right, unless it's really cool, do we really need to focus on it? Just like you said, this montage, this exposition on, okay, this is what you got, let's go.
But we're introduced to the central conflict in a timely manner. We get introduced to the Silver Surfer, who looks amazing. It's probably one of the coolest things I've seen out of the Marvel movies. But on the other end of that, Ben, his rock CG looks a little off to me. I don't know what that's about. But I almost liked what we did with the Silver Surfer. We bring a little depth to her and her people. I wish we could have got some texture of maybe why she chose certain planets, because it comes across to some degree that she is stalling Galactus on some level. She's obviously a little remorseful, or at least Johnny forces that onto her. But to end up helping them, she obviously had to be remorseful beforehand too. I will say, too, I'm really surprised by the absence of action here. We get a lot of character dynamics, a lot of playful banter, generally better than the average superhero fare, too, I will say. Especially between Johnny and Ben. They're very fun. But on that note, Ben's little love interest is a little awkwardly placed both times where they insert it. And I appreciate this 3/4 effort of parents will die for you kind of notion. And of course, Franklin, the great successor to Galactus, I would have given him up in a heartbeat. We can make another. To save the Earth, it's an easy sacrifice. But all in all, probably the most stylized Marvel film yet. I had a great time. It was fun. The film was inching towards something more. I love the effort. But I'm very curious, how did you feel about the Fantastic Four: First Steps?
That's very well said. I was very excited for this movie ever since I watched the trailers. I'm with you. This movie looks awesome. We have this retro vibe with the futuristic vibe. Cinematically, it's a very beautiful world. I really like the sleekness to a lot of the tech, like their spaceship, like their cars, a lot of the buildings, at least the bigger buildings. There were even some scenes where it just looked like you could take a snapshot and make a poster out of it. I don't know if I'm quite saying it right, but some of the scenes where Mr. Fantastic was writing on his chalkboard and the light was just dimmed, it was moody, it was great. Or when the Thing was walking down the street with his hat and his coat, It just looked awesome. I don't have any other words for it.
Yeah, it sounds like you really enjoyed the compositions.
Yes, exactly. Everything was placed where it should have, and everyone was in the right place for when the camera was rolling. It was awesome. Yeah, we definitely have these themes of responsibility and consequences. And this movie made me think of that moral quandary with the trolley problem, where the trolley is headed towards 5 people. If you do nothing, it kills those 5 people, or you can change its course and only kill 1 person. Similar here, do you give up your baby to save humanity? I guess on a broader scale. But it just brings in that moral question of that sacrifice of 1 person for the all. Yes, you can always make another baby, but Reed and Sue here had been trying for years. I'll just throw that out there.
When Sue was convincing the public, when she was giving her spiel of, we can find another way, I thought there was going to be that one guy in the background, the guy that you always seem to like. Well, you can just make another. That would have been me.
Yeah, those guys are always my favorite. It's like the guys who speak the truth, right? In the moment.
They're speaking that impulsive thought
that everyone has, but no one has the guts to say. I'm glad it didn't come to that.
There would have been no movie.
There would have been no movie. And we would have lost some of that humanitarian theme we were going for here. Which I was, too, very surprised with the lack of action in the movie. Or maybe not lack of it, but compared to other superhero films, how much less action there was. We didn't really see the extent of Mr. Fantastic's powers, stretchability, until the very end of the film. I had forgotten he could even stretch like that. We saw the others fairly often, but
yes, especially Johnny, was a lot.
Yeah.
Johnny.
And the Thing, I guess he's just always...
Yeah, you can't forget with the Thing.
But I was surprised. Not mad. I do enjoy my action in my superhero films. It's arguably my favorite part of superhero films, the action. I want to see them kick some bad guy butt. But I didn't mind it here at all. We have a great cast, great ensemble. But because Franklin is Reed and Sue's kid, we do have a bigger focus on them. And we sort of sideline Ben and Johnny a little bit. More than I'd like. They're arguably my favorite characters of the 4, but we don't tend to focus on them like we do on the other 2, and that might be why there's an awkward forcing of their love lives, both Ben and Johnny, with Silver Surfer being Johnny's girlfriend, right? That's the joke of the entire movie, and Ben's 2-3 weird interactions with that school teacher. It's like we were trying to give them some character development, and it didn't quite feel as earned. Definitely Ben's didn't feel as earned. Johnny's, it was more of a joke than anything else. I'm really curious, though, how did you feel about Pedro Pascal's interpretation of Mr. Fantastic? Did he give the leadership aura that a character like Mr. Fantastic gives off? Because I feel like there's a fine line between a character like this coming off as boring or commanding respect. Because way before the movie came out, we all heard the rumors that Pedro Pascal, a 50-year-old man, was going to play Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal did a very good job as Reed. I really enjoyed this build-up, if you can call it that, where he plays this kind of sporadic professor-type character who is obsessed with his work to a detrimental degree, to a distancing degree. And in a better movie, it would have been really powerful, him crying over Sue Storm. But of course, we are par for the course, and it's still effective in this film, I think. Because it's the first moment, when he's crying over Sue, it's really the first moment we get some compassion out of the man. I didn't get a lot of leader vibes out of Reed, though, but for some reason he naturally kind of follows that path. I don't know if it's because he's the super smart guy. He's the dad, in a way, of the group. At least the kind of husband, right? He sits at the head of the table. But I thought the film did a pretty good job identifying that Johnny and Ben are kind of public servants. They're both leaders too. Sue is a delegate of some sort. She's arguably a world leader. And Reed is kind of that natural leader of the group. And they balance it really well visually and narratively. Ben drives the ship. Johnny's on screen maybe the most. The film treats Sue like she has the most to lose. And of course we get some mama bear action out of her.
Yeah, that's very well said. And I completely agree with you. I like that Reed was the unspoken leader, yet everyone else still had a part to play. And even Johnny basically saving the day by interpreting Silver Surfer's language, not adding another task for Reed to have to be the one to do. Everyone pulled their own weight. I also agree with you. Silver Surfer looked absolutely amazing. And I also agree with you that the thing looked kind of weird, especially when he was interacting with the kid. I don't know when the kid was real and when it was CG, but I knew there were moments when there was a real kid and a CG kid. At least I think so. I'm curious how you felt about Galactus. I really liked him. Everything that man said was hilarious. When he said, "I will eat your planet as your child watches," it absolutely killed me. He looked awesome. He was awesome. Him walking through the city was like Godzilla walking through the city. And oh my god, it was great.
Yeah, I think we were the only ones laughing at that bit at the theater. Yeah, Galactus was super cool. I liked his ship. It looked like, I'm assuming anyways, that it consumed stuff and it just injected into him. That was cool.
It kind of looked like the sandworm from Dune.
Him walking around the city, destroying stuff. Of course, it's very cool.
I loved when he grabbed the grass and smelled it, and Johnny looked at him like, what is he doing?
I will say it's just par for the course, though. It is a little dumb. This billion, trillion-year-old thing is ostensibly being tricked by these random Earthlings.
Well, he doesn't fall for it. Mama Bear comes in and pushes him in there. It's just funny that the humans think they can trick him.
Why did he even come down to the planet?
I guess he wanted Franklin that bad.
Yeah, I guess he was trying to get Franklin, his successor, the great Franklin.
The great Franklin. And you wanted to sacrifice him. I really love how superhero movies are just an easy setup for asking the question, are the stakes high enough? Of course, they are in these types of movies. It's easy to set up, and I love it. How are they going to escape out of this one? I love asking myself that. I had a very similar feeling in Superman. Man, how is humanity going to get saved? And this movie was no different. How were they going to move the earth? How were they going to not sacrifice their kid? What are they going to do? When you see that Galactus didn't get tricked, now what? Now what's going to happen? Everyone's getting beat up. And then, okay, Mama Bear steps in. She pushes Galactus into the little teleporter or whatever that thing was. That last bridge. And just when I couldn't get enough, I'm on the edge of my seat, that man sticks his Galactus hand out and he's starting to crawl out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Sue is already dead, obviously. Who is going to save the day? Johnny leaves his last goodbyes for Franklin. I'm about to burst into tears. And then Silver Surfer steps in, saves the day. We set that up so beautifully. I mean, I love it. I also love the fickleness of humans in superhero movies, and this movie is no exception. 1 minute they love the Fantastic Four, 1 minute they want to kill them. She gives a speech. I don't know how good or bad it was, but she gives a speech, and it turns them back. And now everyone's helping building the bridges. I'm like, man, humanity as a whole in superhero films are dumb and fickle. And I love it.
Finally, a superhero both conservatives and liberals can love. I did want to kind of get your thoughts on the reveal of Franklin's cosmic powers. Of course, Disney doesn't have the balls to sacrifice Sue for a parent to sacrifice themselves for their child. Maybe it's Disney's way of saying that parents just say that stuff. They wouldn't actually sacrifice themselves. I thought it was kind of an atrocious setup to reveal Franklin's cosmic powers. What was the sacrifice? If we're not going to sacrifice Franklin, we have to sacrifice someone. It's not a bad move to sacrifice a parent.
We definitely don't see eye to eye on that one. Nothing makes me feel good than the return of someone from the dead. We did this in Thunderbolts. We did this in Endgame. We keep bringing these characters back because we want to live in a world where we can bring these characters back. I don't want to see a character that I'm watching on screen and I love die. I don't want to leave the movie theater feeling like I just lost someone. And this might be one of the cooler examples to show Franklin's power. Galactus is this god. We don't say it, but we imply it. How is he going to come down from his spaceship Sandworm to Earth, if not for something that could bring back the dead or whatever the true nature of his power is? So we need to give him something grand to show us that, not that he's worth it, worth the sacrifice, but to show us his true powers or the extent of his powers or what the potential to his powers are. I don't want the killing of anyone in film unless it is that type of film. Superhero movies are not that type of film, except Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I think it's The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where we just snap Gwen's neck or hit her head. I don't remember what happens, but man, was I left just dead inside after watching that. Maybe that kind of sacrifice should be left to a different kind of movie that I'm more prepared to watch. I do want to give a shout out to Harvey. He's on the same level as Crypto Dog was in Superman. Just this lovable character in the background. And I know we already talked about the style of the movie, but I really loved all the TV shows and commercial aspects in the movie, and how there were some sections that were narrated, and those narrations really felt like old superhero cartoons, not really to tell us what's going on in the film, not narrating in that way, but to kind of tell us how we should be feeling in those moments. And I really like that. That was a very nice touch.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for watching the Fantastic Four movie with me and talking about it here today.
You're welcome.
Do you have a budget guess?
I'm going with 200 mil. I'm not sure where this stands on the MCU budget. These are more side heroes, like the Thunderbolts, like the Guardians of the Galaxy. Not exactly the Captain Americas, the Spider-Mans, Iron Mans. So I could see it being lower than that.
Well, it says here that it was at least 200 million.
Ooh!
Nothing super conclusive, though.
Ah.
And it's gone on to make $368 million.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we'll see if it ends up making money.
Yeah, for a Sunday night, the theater was pretty packed.
Well, over on Letterboxd with 934,000 people, they've weighed in at a 3.5.
I'm going to give this a 3.5, right there with everyone else. I could see this changing. I wish I could go in the middle between a 3.5 and a 4, but I don't think this is 4 status. It is a very well-rounded story. We have the stakes. We have the characters. We have the care. We have the oohs and ahs and the gasping and the emotion. We lacked a little bit of the action, but seeing Galactus walk through Times Square, through New York, made up for it. Mr. Fantastic getting stretched. I thought he was gonna snap in half. And that was awesome. The world here is very fun. It's not your traditional Earth, it's an alternate Earth. I love it. I was apprehensive on the casting choices. That apprehension is long gone. The score was fantastic. It raised the emotion, but I just wanted more from our side characters. I wanted more of the ensemble together. Like I said, especially with The Thing and Johnny, my two favorite characters. Definitely wanted more out of them. Some of that CG wasn't great, especially when anyone interacted with the kid in some scenes. But overall, a great watch.
I mostly agree. I just don't think the film goes far enough with any of its ideas. I did want to shout out the Mole Man. I liked his little bit.
Yes.
And I'd like to know how the party got back to Earth from that neutron star. Isn't the closest star still 60 years away, going at light speed, and they were going at 0.88 light speed? I don't know.
Maybe that doesn't apply in alternate universes. Universi.
The film, by most regards, is a 2.5, but the film does very little for me, so I'm kind of leaning towards a 2.
If Sue had died, just curious, how much would that score bump up?
If Sue would have died and if we had more texture on the Silver Surfer, we're starting to approach a real complete movie.
Interesting.
We're real close here, ladies and gentlemen, with a 2.5 for a superhero movie. But yeah, man, thank you very much again for talking about this film here today, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of The Filmsteins. Hope you guys enjoyed that short one. Remember, we post weekly on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcast, and Patreon. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, or ideas, come subscribe to our Patreon. Come right in. Come request a movie. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Filmsteins. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon, patreon.com/filmsteins. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is The Filmsteins, signing off.